2016 Formula Virtual World Championship here from Sepang, Malaysia. I'm your lead commentator Bradley Downton and I'll be joined today by Nick Forrest.
Hello there.
Let's take you through the grid for this Malaysian V-Prix. It is Olen Inman on pole for the second race in a row alongside teammate Adrian Simon in a DS Downton lockout of the front row. Johan Halvorsen third with James Harding starting fourth. Jochen van Snelheid continues his run of fifth places, Matson alongside in sixth, Beckenbauer seventh and Stuart Harrison disappointed with eighth. Nikolai Milkovic ninth, Puccio Giordano rounds out the top 10, Enrique Ruiz starts alongside his teammate Elroy Wagner in 11th after his 5-place penalty for the collision in Australia. Next up, the two AMRs and the two Funds. The two Westwards line up on row 9 ahead of Marcus Thunder and best of the new teams, Judson Sykes for North Star. Arden Hutchinson is 21st alongside Nathaniel Powers. Noah Sinke lines up in 23rd ahead of Douglas Bacon. And at the back, the two Hongquist drivers of Aaron Einarson and Kiara Thunder. So, as we go down to the grid then, we have Olen Inman on pole on the right, Adrian Simon second on the left. The lights go out now, we're racing in Malaysia, it's a great start by Johan Halvorsen, but he's been blocked in by Inman. Simon's got a better start than his teammate as well, and he's alongside, he'll have the inside line into turn 1. Surely Simon is going to take the lead here of the Malaysian V-Prix. Inman is trying to hold on around the outside. Simon has his nose in front, but Inman has held on. Simon, he's going to go around the outside of turn 2. He's going to take it. Yeah, Adrian Simon into the lead, and behind as well, James Harding past Johan Halvorsen into third.
Well, there was a car stopped on the grid there, couldn't quite see who that was, but a great start there from Johan Halvorsen, but just couldn't use the grip of the super softs off the grid there.
No, absolutely. I think that's Douglas Bacon who's been left on the grid, so we have a retirement from this race already, but it's Adrian Simon who leads.
I think everyone seems to have gotten away cleanly aside from the first, so that is Douglas Bacon, the DNF. So not a good start for him there, but we'll hopefully be able to see Arden Hutchinson making his way through the field as he did in Australia.
Yeah, and it's been a miserable start for Marcus Thunder as well, who's back down into 22nd.
As we go on board with one of the Meteors there, presumably Johan Halvorsen challenging James Harding, this will be, for third position.
Halvorsen running in 4th place, having he had that initial launch was brilliant, but he just couldn't go anywhere with it, and he actually lost the position later on in the first sequence of Kuala. So Halvorsen down to 4th, not the start he'd be expecting, as we see Agostino rocket up the inside of, I think that's Felix Bayer. And
absolutely, big dive there up the inside of the AMR, but he managed to make it stick. Very nearly got 2 places in one corner as we go charging down the back straight here up to the hairpin.
And it's line of stern between them, and Adrian Simon leads after the end of the first lap and sets the fastest lap with it. Inman second, but look how close Johan Halvorsen is to James Harding now.
He's got the extra grip of those super soft tires against the mediums, so he's really going to be able to have to use them and get past early on.
Yeah, as we see Kiara Thunder looking to make a move on Alexei Noah Sinke at the back. Noah Sinke instead is trying to make a move on Einarson. There's slight contact between the pair as we go on board with Douglas Bacon at the start, and he just didn't go anywhere.
Absolutely, there's just no drive there on that first car, and here we go on board with Judson Sykes now up the inside. That was presumably, goodness me, that's just no brakes at all, and there goes his front wing.
Yeah, so that's why Judson Sykes is in the pit lane then, so it's not been the best of starts for North Star.
Oh, it doesn't, not from the looks of things. As we go back on board, is that Harrison?
Yeah, that's Stuart Harrison, already right up with his teammate from 8th on the grid, so he's passed Jochen van Snelheid in the last lap that we haven't seen, so that's a fantastic start from Harrison, gained 3 places in 2 laps.
That's a great opening couple of laps for him, so it'll be interesting to see how he can take on Halvorsen after his... he couldn't quite get past him in Australia. Halvorsen was the one who took the victory, but Harrison run him fairly close, you have to say.
Yeah, definitely, and Milkovic has passed the Dutchman as well, so Van Snelheid having a bit of a miserable opening couple of laps here.
Well, from the looks of things, yeah, the softer tyres really seem to be working here in the Malaysian heat, which is not what we would have expected.
No, definitely not, as Simon sets another fastest lap, and we got on board with, I think that was Jochen van Snelheid. No, that was James Harding, sorry, so Halvorsen is up into 3rd. past the Australian.
I think we just saw Olen Inman setting the fastest lap as well. So pretty back and forth between the two DS cars up front at the moment.
Yeah, both DS cars running on the medium tyres. It'll be interesting to see now that Halverson is in clear air, whether he can catch them.
Well, absolutely, but well, Halverson running on the sorry, who did you say there? James Harding.
Yes, Harding and Halverson's just gone past into third place.
Okay, so Johan Halverson in third on the super soft. So you got to admit he might be catching them up on the DS cars up front. Halverson probably catching them up on the softer rubber. But 2.1 seconds down from the looks of things. Is that 2.5?
Yeah, I think that's 2.5 off the lead, but we can see on screen that gap is definitely coming down. He's 1.6 already, so he's already taken a second out of them on this lap.
Nice one. So
yeah, I was just gonna say,
as we go on board with Ruiz, he said. Absolutely, chasing down. This will be it's Carl Beckenbauer there for 9th place.
Yeah.
So
Ruiz,
Franklin's have made up some ground at the start, but perhaps not as much as you would have expected.
No, and he's running on a soft tyre, but Ruiz qualified 6th, although he did have to start back in 11th after that 5th-place penalty that he was handed for the collision with Adrian Simon in Australia. As we see Johan Halverson set the fastest lap, and now Stuart Harrison. No, that's Halverson on Inman.
That is Halverson all over the back of Olen Inman. Down the inside for turn 1. Can the Monegasque hold on around the turn 2? He can't. No. So Johan Halverson up into 2nd.
Yeah, a brilliant move there from Halverson to sweep around the outside of turn 2 as he now sets off after Adrian Simon. But we have 32 degrees track temperature, and surely those soft tyres aren't going to last very long at all.
Absolutely, they're going to be crying agony in a couple of laps, I can imagine. But the gap up front to Adrian Simon is already come down to just a second or so.
Yeah, so Johan Halverson is a man on a mission here then. Stuart Harrison is into 4th, so he's past James Harding as well, and now will set about closing down the gap to Olen Inman in 3rd.
Absolutely, Nikolai Milkovic in 6th and John Matson in 8th, so it looks like a pretty good start of the race for the Ingram team as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and Ruiz is past Beckenbauer into 9th then, so the soft-tyred Franklin has moved past the medium-shod Ocelot.
Well, absolutely, but the question now is how long are the tyres going to last? We had a yellow flag in the first sector momentarily, it seems to have been cleared up.
Yeah, we have that yellow appearing, that's about the 4th time I've seen it. So I think
do you think the drivers just don't like turn 1 very much?
That's very possible, as I think this is the squabble at the back of the pack for Aaron Einarsson, Alexei Norsinki and Kiara Thunder battling over 22nd place.
Absolutely, I'm just wanting to see where Arden Hutchinson is. He appears to be quite further ahead than any of them.
On Adrian Simon for the lead of the race. He's down the inside of turn 1.
It is.
He's through. And Halverson is
He is through.
Lap 5.
What a spectacular move there from the Meteor driver. Those super soft tyres really helping him there.
Yeah, especially compared to the grip of the mediums on the DS cars. And I think Stuart Harrison is right up with them as well. He is, he's only 7/10 back, so he's taken 2 seconds out of them on that last lap.
Well, Stuart Harrison on the super soft tyres as well as Johan Halverson as well. So how long is it going to take for the American to get past the DS cars?
I think that's definitely, if we get another yellow flag in sector 1, I think that's definitely going to be an interesting question, because those Meteors seem an awful lot quicker on that softer rubber.
Well, they certainly do, as Nikolai Milkovic is up in the 5th place at the moment, but we're watching Enrique Ruiz chasing down John Matson in the 2nd Ingram.
Yeah, and this is on board
well, here we go.
As he moved past James Harding then.
Absolutely, the Lopez driver not wanting to go down without a fight, but in the end just couldn't quite contend with the Ingram on the softer rubber there.
No, so we've got Milkovic on the super softs then up into 5th, and the softer compounds, which we didn't really expect to work here in Malaysia, are, well, the drivers that are on them are absolutely flying at the moment. We've got Johan Halverson leading on the super softs, Stuart Harrison fourth, but hassling third-placed Inman on the super soft, and Nikolai Milkovic.
Well, we could have a move here, moving to the inside, down into turn 1. We've seen his teammate pull this off a number of times earlier, and he's done it.
Yeah, he's through. Stuart Harrison through into third place past the monogas, so Olen Inman drops off the podium then, and Adrian Simon will now be Stuart Harrison's next target before they're into a Meteor 1-2 once again.
It really does seem that the super soft tires are just so much easier to get dialed in than the harder rubber, the medium or the hard compound.
Yeah, definitely, which even in these, which we wouldn't have expected in these temperatures. So there's definitely something unusual going on with the tyres out there today.
Well, absolutely. Maybe they just bought a bit more of a durable compound there, more durable construction. As we go on board with one of the Ocelots, I think this is Giordano chasing down Elroy Wagner for 11th place.
Yeah, and just to note there, with Ruiz starting 11th due to that penalty and Wagner 12th, I do believe that's the first time in Formula Virtual history that there hasn't been a Franklin starting inside the top 10.
Well, I think that might be accurate. As one of the fun F1 cars, I think that is Agostino there, tailing one of the AMRs. Not quite sure who that is.
I'm gonna go with Ellington.
Okay, whoever it is, I think it's the AMR in front. As we go back on board with Enrique Ruiz, well, not on board, we're just watching him there.
Yeah, and closing up.
But look how much they've closed up to the Lopez cars.
Yeah, so those two Lopez on the medium tyres, and that's Nikolai Milkovic catching Olen Inman.
Is it catching Olen Inman?
Yeah, this is on board.
Goodness me, Stuart Harrison.
He's going to try and move on Adrian Simon, and he's down the inside into turn 1.
That's quite a late dive there.
Simon's going to try and hold on the inside of turn 2, but he's not going to make it. Harrison is through. It's a Meteor 1-2, but Milkovic is all over the back of Olen Inman behind them.
Well, it's a Meteor 1-2, just like we saw in Australia. They just like the softer tyres, as it turns out.
Yeah, and DS struggling to even get these mediums working here in Malaysia. As where's Milkovic? Yeah, there in the bottom of your screen, just catching the back now.
There he is. We just saw him flashing through the view there, but all over the back of the second DS Mathershaw car. They do seem to have quite a lot of outright pace, the DS cars, but I don't know whether it's just the tyres that they choose, but the pace in qualifying just seems to desert them when it comes to race day.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, they are on compounds that are 2 steps harder than the cars that have just blasted by them, and that's probably a large part of it, but it's definitely making for an interesting story.
Well, it certainly will do, as we now watch Marcus Thunder chasing down Arden Hutchinson in the sole remaining first car.
Oh god, so you mean there's one left and we're still behind them?
As it turns out, I'm afraid.
But
At least you're beating North Star.
Well, yeah, that's something, but Sykes is pitted and Novosinki's fighting with the 2 Holmqvist cars.
Well, that's true, but here's Nikolai Milkovic chasing down Olen Inman once again. Not quite close enough to make a move.
No, but he's closing in and he's thinking about it, as we see Elroy Wagner now chasing John Matson. And they're all tucked up behind the 2 Lopez cars of Harding and Van Schnellheim.
I think that's Ruiz rather than Elroy Wagner. But there's definitely a train forming behind Van Schnellheim in that Lopez.
Matson's on the soft tyres, I think, isn't he?
John Matson is on the soft tyres, you're right.
So he is on tyres slightly softer than Van Schnellheim's. So he should be. As Ruiz gets a big slide on, and I wonder if that's just a hint that the softer compounds are starting to go away.
Well, it could very well be. We've got to keep our eyes out for who comes into the pit lane first. Yeah, but so far it all seems to be holding together relatively well.
Yeah, we've got a track temperature up to 33 degrees now then, and the 2 Meteors and Nikolai Milkovic, the only ones running the super soft tyres, they're still out there, and we're on lap 8 now of this V-Prix, and I have to say it wasn't expected that the super softs would really go even this long. Well,
I think you might be right there, but I think as long as we keep our eyes out, as Johan Halvorsen up front has almost a 5-second gap back to his teammate.
Yeah, and the two DS cars have fallen 8 seconds now off of the lead.
Absolutely, but they've got Nikolai Milkovic all over them. Oh, we did. I didn't quite catch who that was, but Nikolai Milkovic still all over the back of Olen Inman, but can't quite make a way through.
No, he closed up really quickly, but unlike the Meteors that were able to just drive by them, Milkovic seems to be struggling a little bit more.
Well, from the looks of things, you might be right about that, but I think it would be fair to say that the Ingram car doesn't quite have the raw pace that we've seen from the Meteor thus far this season.
Yeah, that's very true. Meteor have often found themselves, well, in the 2 races we've had on the second row, whereas Ingram have been down towards the back end of the top 10, but the softer titles are working for them here, and Nikolai Milkovic up in 5th place.
Well, definitely. I thought Nikolai Milkovic was on the super softs, but looks like he's on the softer tyres here. Okay, but this will be Jean Matson then, as we. Yep, that's true. As he continues to chase down the Lopez cars, I think.
Yeah, as we switch to onboard with AMR's Felix Bayer, running in, oh God knows, 14th.
Slightly outside of the top 10. I think this is where AMR became slightly accustomed to being in last season. They finished in 11th place more often than any other team, which is not exactly a record that one wants to have, but here we are.
Yeah, and where is, let's have a look, where is Felix Bayer running? I'm just going to wait for it to scroll across the screen, to be honest.
Absolutely, we've got Carl Beckenbauer into 10th place, so that's a potential point scoring position for Ocelot. Lewis Ellington down in 13th.
So Bayer is 16th then, behind Carson Davenport.
Well, there he is, the 2 Fun F1 cars in between the 2 AMRs. So it could be a pretty good scrap there if things all kick off.
Yeah, and then behind 16th place Felix Bayer, Timo Kinnaman running 10 seconds down the road, with Will Hoskins, Marcus Thunder and Arden Hutchinson for company.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Westwood and Downton, they were scrapping over 4th place in the Constructors' Championship last year, but they've just taken a really hard tumble down the grid this year.
Yep, rub it in, why don't you?
I didn't mean to.
As at the back, we've got a pretty good scrap developing between Nathaniel Powers, Alexei Novsinki and Kiara Thunder as they battle over 21st place. But Aaron Einarsson has dropped off of that battle now. Although, I think, to be honest, after the catastrophe of a race that we saw from Einarsson in Australia, he'll just be hoping to make it to the flag without any issues.
Well, I think you might be right about that as we cut to, I believe this is Johan Halvorsen out in front.
Yep.
There's his teammate just in the back of shot there.
Yeah, this is our race leader, Johan Halvorsen, and on lap 10. And I'm just wondering if he's going to maybe pit this lap was he coming in there? He is, yeah.
He is!
In from the lead then, and Harrison follows him, so both Meteors in at the end of lap 10.
So both Meteors coming in, they've had enough of the super soft tyres, so 10 laps is all it seems they're able to do. And there's another car coming into the pits in the background. Could that be Nikolai Milkovic?
Yeah, it's got to be, surely. Both DS cars continue then. So Adrian Simon moves back into the lead. Olen Inman will follow through in second, first, second and fifth, all into the pits though. Halvorsen will lead in front. And where's he going to slot back in? He's behind Harding. Or is he? Yes, he is.
I think he is behind Harding, but that's not going to help out his teammate very much, because, or as his teammate was in front of him, Halvorsen would have been in front, so there won't be much traffic for the both of them. But coming in behind that Lopez car, he gets really twitchy out of that corner. Really needs to be careful in getting these tyres up to temperature. But he needs to get past this Lopez car as quickly as he can to utilise the new rubber.
Yeah, but I think Stuart Harrison has actually lost out quite a lot here, because that is Harding now running in third, Halvorsen fourth, but behind him there is the Lopez of Van Schnellheid, the Ingram of Matson and the Franklin of Ruiz, and I still don't see Stuart Harrison.
So he has lost out an awful lot in that pit stop there. Be interesting to see which position he's actually in.
I think he's running
as we see one of the Fun F1 cars.
No, he's not, he's behind Beckenbauer even. Stuart Harrison.
He's behind Carl Beckenbauer. So a torrid pit stop there for the American, only just ahead of Elroy Wagner. And Nikolai Milkovic out in 11th.
Yeah, so that's going to be the big thing here, as to whether the super soft tyre, which is clearly much quicker, but they are going to have to make more pit stops and they are going to have to pass traffic. Although I think Johan Halvorsen is about to make that look rather simple. No, he's not going to make a move on James Harding into the final corner. Is he going to wait, take him down the pit straight and into turn 1, I wonder?
Well, we've seen him do that a number of times over the opening laps. He's going to the outside this time. Harding goes defensive.
And he's through before the corner.
Just drives straight around the outside. That's the underlying pace of the Meteor we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, and the extra grip of the fresh super soft tyres compared to the now 11 lap old mediums. And Johan Halvorsen into third and just pulling away. But I think he's got sideways again there, because that was a little bit of dust being kicked up from the back of the Meteor.
Well, could very well have been. I think I did see Stuart Harrison had gotten past Carl Beckenbauer as well. So he's going to need to make that happen pretty quickly, getting past the traffic.
Yeah, because this is Elroy Wagner then with... Well, that was Elroy Wagner with Giordano behind, so I think that means that Milkovic has passed Wagner as well. And yeah, Stuart Harrison up to 8, and now all over the back of the Franklin of Enrique Ruiz.
Well, absolutely. We've got Jean Matson there just ahead, and then both of the Lopez cars. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how quickly he can get through them. Just a brief flash of a yellow flag in Sector 1.
Yeah, as we're now accustomed to, and Milkovic is past Wagner in 10th. Oh, there's a car off.
So there we are now.
There was a car.
There definitely looked to be. There was one in Sector 3.
Is this Halvorsen?
It's Johan Halvorsen.
And he's caught the curb, and he's spun in the final sector then. Johan Halvorsen, he's going to get his way back out, just waiting for the traffic to clear. And that is a disaster for the Dane.
Just took far too much curb there, got a little bit overzealous, and then paid the price. So he's going to be right down the order there. And that could compromise his whole race there.
Yeah, and I think he's even behind Stuart Harrison. As into the pits, we've got Jon Matson and that's Ruiz, that one.
I think that is Enrique Ruiz. They were fighting for position, so this is going to be a race between the pit crews. Ruiz is already going.
And Matson gets out in front as Milkovic sets the fastest lap then. So there we go, taking a look of those who have pitted, Stuart Harrison is leading. Johan Halvorsen did recover, but he's only just in front of Nikolai Milkovic now. Jean Matson and Enrique Ruiz have fallen to 13th and 14th positions.
After their first pit stop, so after it all gets shaken out, they could climb back up the order again.
Yeah, but the interesting thing will be to see how many stops each different tyre will have to make. I mean, the Super Soft we were expecting to have to make 6 or 7 stops, but coming in on lap 10, looks like they could be on for a 5-stopper.
Well, it could very well be 5 stops, unless they can really stretch it out over the next few stints. We just caught a glimpse of a fight towards the tail end. Marcus Thunder behind both Westwood cars, Kinnaman leading Hoskins.
Oh, Thunder's past
as we
Hutchinson!
Marcus Thunder has gotten past Arden Hutchinson, yes.
Hey!
Hooray! You've overtaken someone!
Yeah, I didn't expect that to
As
happen.
here's Stuart Harrison challenging Jochen van Snelheid. He's going round the outside. Is this the hairpin?
Yeah, I think, and that's a beautiful move from Stuart Harrison.
Very nicely done. Credit to Van Snelheid for giving him the space as well. But that moves him up into 4th position. Now sets off after James Harding.
Yeah, so as into the pits comes Carl Beckenbauer then on the soft tyres from 8th place. But that now puts Stuart Harrison, with his teammate having made that mistake, Stuart Harrison is in prime position now.
Absolutely. So after all the pit stops shake out, it'll be interesting to see if he can keep his teammate behind him this time.
As one of the funds into the pits as well, I think that's Agostino, yep, on the soft tyre.
You're right about Agostino, so Carson Davenport will presumably move ahead of him, as could Felix Bayer as well.
Yeah, and I just think at the back, yeah, Lexi Nowasinki and I do believe Kiara Thunder as well have both passed Nathaniel Powers. Oh, well, Kiara had done, but she's in the pits now.
Well, absolutely, but you're right, Novosinki has moved up into 21st place, just behind Arden Hutchinson, who is currently leading the new teams after Douglas Bacon's non-start and Judson Sykes' accident in the early going.
Yeah, so good effort from Hutchinson once again, because he won the Battle of the New Teams in Australia, didn't he?
We did, finishing a very commendable 16th place, ahead of one of the Westwoods, I believe, as well.
And one of the Downtons. In fact, both of the Downtons.
I think you might be right about that. Getting poached from the Meteor team towards the end of last season, as he figured he didn't really play into their long-term strategy. But he's certainly done a very commendable job getting the first team up to a reasonable starting position, as this is one of the DS Mathershaw cars, I think, in the pits, is it?
Yeah, I think you're right. That's Adrian Simon then, on the medium tyres, so a very early stop compared to how long the super soft and the soft tyres have lasted. A very early stop for Adrian Simon, and where is he? He's come back out behind Nikolai Milkovic. A long way behind.
Absolutely, as we headed to a three-way scrap here into the first corner. That's Ellington getting overtaken by Jean Matson from the looks of things, and Enrique Ruiz could go around the outside as well.
Yeah, he's going to try, but he's not quite made it, although he's got the inside line through the fast sweeping right-hander of turn 3. Can he make a dive into turn 4?
Well, it doesn't look like it from the looks of things, but there was contact there with the Lopez, and I think the Franklin just lost a front wing end plate there.
Yeah, and so that's the Lopez of, I think that's Jochen van Snelheid going back past the soft-shod Franklin of Enrique Ruiz.
Well, absolutely, that must have slowed him down quite a lot, because Van Snelheid's on the hard tyres.
So that's Harding, sorry. And that's...
Oh, that is James Harding, okay.
Yes, no, so that's a different battle. So it was Jochen van Snelheid on the hards that went back past Ruiz. As this is going to be Olen Inman.
And this is Olen Inman into the pit, so he's managed to make those medium tyres go one lap longer than his teammate, and that could prove crucial come the end of the race.
Yeah, and that is going to hand Stuart Harrison then the lead of this V-Prix, and I think he takes the fast lap as we see a three-way battle into the final corner. That's Adrian Simon moving back past Nikolai Milkovic. So Simon's...
Absolutely, I think I just saw as Jochen van Snelheid comes into the pits.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Simon's fresh medium tyres clearly have more grip now than Milkovic's slightly used super softs.
Well, absolutely, as we see Ellington get a real tank slapper coming on the pit straight. That's a bit of a weird spot for that to happen.
Yeah, I don't know if he was just maybe expected or thought that Franklin was a bit closer than it was. But so as we see now then, having pitted, Harrison leads made one stop, Halverson second having made one stop, Simon third, Milkovic fourth, Inman fifth, Elroy Wagner is sixth but hasn't pitted yet, Matson seventh, Harding eighth, Ruiz ninth, and Ellington 10th, also having not pitted, Beckenbauer 11th. He has made one stop.
Absolutely, so he's in the prime position to move up into the points once Ellington and perhaps Wagner make their stops, as we see Carson Davenport dropping down the order. Presumably this is him coming in for a pit stop there.
Yeah, that would be most likely. I just want to point out, Jochen van Snelheid, he's made his only pit stop, but he's fallen back now into 13th place behind Carl Beckenbauer.
Well, absolutely. It doesn't seem like the hard tyres have got a great deal of pace in there, but they can certainly drag them out. So it'll be interesting to see if he can perhaps make a couple of fewer stops than some of the guys running the super softs up front.
Yeah, I also just want to point out, I can't remember which of my cars I put on the mediums. I think it was Thunder, but Marcus Thunder hasn't pitted yet on the medium tyres. Van Snelheid started on the hards and has already made a stop.
Absolutely, so maybe he just picked up a bit of damage there and he pitted to sort that out, or perhaps he's just been really running his tyres ragged trying to defend from cars behind.
Yeah, as we go on board with Jean Matson hunting down Elroy Wagner. Now Matson on fresh soft tyres and Wagner on used hards. This should be fairly straightforward for the Frenchman, but he doesn't even make a lunge into turn 1.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Wagner not having pitted yet, so he could just be waiting for the Franklin to come in and make a scheduled stop, and then really unleash the power of those fresh tyres as he gets a little bit squirrely out of that corner, and that could give Jean Matson a run.
Yeah, and surely Matson's got to take a dive
Absolutely thinks better of it, and someone's closing in behind him. I think that's James Harding.
It is James Harding, yeah, in the Lopez on medium tyres. So this is hurting Matson at the moment. He really needs to get past Wagner.
Absolutely needs to not only get past Wagner, but also defend against the Lopez car attacking from behind. But still not committing to a move though.
No, so Matson just seems content to wait at the moment. Let's take a so up front then we've got Stuart Harrison. I do believe this is the first time he's ever led a V-Prix. I don't think he led an Australian, did he?
I'm not entirely certain about that, but he's got Johan Halvorsen 2.2 seconds behind him, and then I want to say Adrian Simon in third.
Yeah,
I think we'll wait for the
Simon is 11 seconds off the 11.5 seconds off the lead, with Milkovich just half a second back, and Olen Inman another 1.5 seconds further behind him. So it's pretty tight at the moment for third place.
Absolutely, so that could be a pretty good scrap going forward as we're on board with Alexei Novosinki at the moment. As we jump away to, that's both Franklin cars, and I think Jean Matson has finally got past him, but here's the Lopez of Harding.
Yeah, Harding on the medium tyres then, down the inside of Jean Matson on the softs. He's not quite made it, and that was an important move for Matson to hold on there.
Well, absolutely. He's spent quite a lot of time held up behind Elroy Wagner, so that allowed not only James Harding but also Enrique Ruiz to close up, and we could see the two Franklin drivers scrapping as well.
Yeah, you'd imagine, I mean, I know we're still early in the championship, but they're on totally different strategies here, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if Ruiz glided past Elroy Wagner fairly swiftly, as Wagner gets sideways on those now fairly worn hard tyres.
Well, they've got to be one, and look at the gap that James Harding's already pulling out on them.
Yeah, and Matson as well, although obviously Matson is on the soft tyres.
Well, absolutely. Matson getting a little bit of a cushion over James Harding himself, and this is the scrap for the two Franklins fighting over 8th place.
Who would have ever expected that last season?
I can certainly say I wouldn't have. As I think that's Enrique Ruiz maybe looking for a move, but not quite going for it as we head up along the back straight up to the hairpin. This could be a pretty good opportunity for him, but we cut away.
We're getting used to that. I wouldn't worry about it.
Although we do cut to the battle between the Meteors up front.
Yeah, and that's so. Johan Halvorsen.
That's Johan Halvorsen in front.
Is it?
It is.
It is.
Is this around the final corner?
Yeah. So Johan Halvorsen was 2 seconds behind as Wagner pits on the hard tyres then on lap 19. Well, you must be on 18. Of this V-Prix. But yeah, so Halvorsen was 2 seconds behind, but he'd closed up and drove around the outside of his teammate at the final corner, and that mistake earlier he's just made up for. Halvorsen back into the lead of this V-Prix.
It just looks like he's got so much confidence in the car. It's so much more so than Stuart Harrison from the looks of things, but he doesn't appear to be pulling ahead at any great rate.
No, but I think we saw this with Harrison last year. He had a brilliant season in FP2 back in 2014, where he joined a couple of races into the championship and finished runner-up. But then it just kind of last season didn't really come together. Everyone as Halvorsen now dives into the pits then, so that'll be his second stop. Everyone that sat in that Meteor alongside Stuart Harrison seemed to have the beating of him.
Well, from the looks of things, but I mean, we've seen with Aron Einarsson this year, the step up from FV2 to Formula Virtual is quite significant, and if you can't manage it, then there's very little we can do as we go on board with I think that's Carson Davenport momentarily.
And that was the battle for third we were watching then. So Halvorsen has come out behind that scrap.
Absolutely, we've got DS leading, Ingram leading DS, as we cut to one of the fun F1 cars chasing down a Westwood towards the back end of the grid, and there's the second Westwood just behind them.
What gave you the hint that it was at the back of the grid? Was it the fact that there's a Westwood there?
I don't want to, paint them with a particularly poor brush or anything like that, but you do have to admit that from where Westwood used to be, they won the last 2 races in 2015 as Tumo Kinnaman pulls into the pits.
Yeah. Yeah. Harry's
I think he was one of the last remaining cars not to make a stop, so he's managed to make the hard tyres go for 20 laps, so that's actually a pretty good stint. He could be on for a good result here.
Yeah, that was it was solid for. Oh, and Hoskins in as well then. So both Meteor, no, not Meteors, Westwoods into the pits. As we look as though, yeah, this is Adrian Simon just trying to lap traffic, and North Star getting slightly in the way there, and he's blocked Nikolai Milkovic, and Inman goes through into 4th.
North Star getting very in the way there. That's not what they'll be wanting to do, but this is what you have to watch out for if you're fighting amongst traffic.
Yeah, as we see Nathaniel Powers exiting the pits. I should know which of my drivers that is. I even colour code the cars.
Well, absolutely. Nathaniel Powers on the harder tyres there, so he's managed to go for 21 laps, so not that much longer than Marcus Thunder on the mediums.
No. The car's rubbish anyway, I'm not expecting anything.
Well, I'm glad you said that and not me, as we take a look and see that all the drivers remaining in this race have made one stop, aside from Johan Halvorsen, who's made 2, but he's still running in 4th place, so he's on for a very strong result here.
So the interesting thing now will be when Harrison makes his pit stop. He's made these super softs in this second stint go an awful lot longer than Johan Halvorsen did. It'll be interesting to see where he feeds back out. There's currently a gap of around 17 seconds between the pair. I think the pit stop is about 20 or so here.
Roundabout, so they'll feed back into roughly the same area of track as we watch both the DS Mathershaw cars running line astern, Simon leading Inman.
Yeah, as Milkovic makes his second stop now as well, and he's fed back out in 9th place.
Absolutely, just in front of Joachim van Snelheid. I think we just managed to catch a glimpse of that a little earlier. And now Stuart Harrison comes into the pits.
Yeah, so Harrison in from the lead then, and that will hand the lead of this race back to Adrian Simon. But where will the American feed out? Will he come out in front of his teammate? That's the big question.
I think I just saw his teammate going round the final corner, so it looks doubtful that he will do.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Harrison will go back into 3rd, and he has done before Harrison has even left his pit box.
Well, absolutely. So we've got DS in 1 and 2 and Meteor in 3 and 4, just as we saw in Australia. The DS cars and the Meteor cars locking out the top 4 positions for the time being.
Yeah, and obviously DS, as we've seen from practice and qualifying, seemingly with a huge amount more natural pace, but Meteor so far have been playing the strategy better, but we are nearly halfway into, sort of nearly halfway into this V-Prix. The 2 DS cars have made 1 stop each, the 2 Meteors have made 2 stops each, as they're on much softer tyres, and there's only 11 seconds separating the 4 of them.
Well, absolutely, and when you consider that the Meteor cars are going to have to stop more often than the DS cars from what we've seen so far, it could be DS's day here, as it wasn't quite in Australia there. As a yellow flag pops out in Sector 3.
Yeah, and that's a lengthy yellow at the moment, so I wonder if there's someone... Well, it's gone now. We'll keep an eye on the timing screen, see if anyone has moved... Oh, Kiara Thunder is now 2nd in the battle of the new teams, behind Arden Hutchinson.
Absolutely, running 18th, so that's a reasonable result for her. Pretty strong compared to, what we saw in Australia. But Aaron Einarsson down in 24th.
Although I think Kiara Thunder is on the soft tyres and Einarsson's on the hards.
I think you would be right about that as we watch one of the Franklins chasing down, but cutting away. I think this is Kiara Thunder challenging Arden Hutchinson.
It is, yeah, well, it's got to be Hutchinson, he's the only first left in the race. But yep, that was Kiara Thunder in her wonderfully bright pink helmet.
Absolutely, it's certainly distinctive, you can't deny that.
No,
as we watch one of the Ingrams.
Yeah, I think it's...
Absolutely.
Oh, as we go on board with Kiara Thunder then. And racing on Hutchinson? Not really. What tyres is Hutchinson on? Is it mediums?
I think it is mediums and Kiara Thunder on the soft, so perhaps not quite got the grip advantage that she might need to get past.
No, and especially as I think the first is probably more developed than the Holmquist, who were announced into the championship very, very late indeed as a result of the disappearance of Rossi.
Well, absolutely. As we watch both Westwoods chasing, I would think that's Marcus Thunder there behind Alexei Novosinki. But as you were saying, first was, well, the first of the new teams to be announced for the series, and Holmquist really came in at the... It never is it? But Holmquist were definitely announced right at the 11th hour, and they were only just made the grid. So, all things considered, I think it's pretty good that they're actually racing against the first car and racing well.
Yeah, definitely got to hand it to Holmquist. They pulled the operation together very late, but it seems to have been successful, and at least they're there.
Well, they are there. We wanted a grid full of teams, and we have a grid full of teams. Here we go, as Kiara Thunder maybe challenging into turn 4, but not quite making it stick.
No, so definitely looking to take the... as Johan Halvorsen is behind Stuart Harrison for some reason, by 4 seconds. So I wonder
by 4 seconds, has he had enough, perhaps?
I was just going to say, I wonder if that lengthy yellow flag in the final sector was Halvorsen spinning off again.
Well, it could very well have been. That won't have done his tyres any good. As we go back on board with Kiara Thunder, this is a pretty good scrap towards the rear end of the field. And I suppose it just goes to show what a competitive season we're going to have this year, with most of the teams pretty much in contention with most of the other teams.
Yeah, it certainly seems everyone has someone else to fight with, and we're expecting the order to change up quite a bit when we get to France for the first race of the European season, and a lot of the teams bring in their first major updates for the year.
Well, absolutely, but both DS Mathershaw cars running first and second, I believe, as we'll go on board with Marcus Thunder here, chasing down Alexei Novosinki just ahead of him, getting a little bit squirrely into the last corner there.
So Thunder's running 20th and Powers is 23rd, so that means both of my cars are behind at least one of the new teams.
Oh,
Jesus.
I honestly don't mean to make you feel bad about your cars.
No, it's fine. We built them to just literally be there.
Well, I suppose as we go back on board with this is one of the Meteor cars. I think this is it's Johan Halvorsen. He's back chasing down his teammate as the gap's starting to close, but not quite at the rate as we might expect.
No, as we get another, we've got a yellow flag in sectors 1 and 3, but it's gone now. Stuart Harrison set the fastest lap there, and yeah, the gap has come down, so there's now just 7 seconds separating the top 4. As Matson pits from...
Jean Matson into the pits there. So that will elevate James Harding into 5th and his teammate Nikolai Milkovic into 6th, and in comes Enrique Ruiz as well.
Yeah, so this looks to be the second stop then for those on the soft tyre. So they've gone a little bit further this time, so it's definitely sort of fallen into place, isn't it? It looks as though the super softs are going to have to make one more stop than those on the soft tyres, who are going to have to make one more stop than those on the mediums.
Well, that seems to be the way it's going at the moment, and it'll be interesting to see if they can fight their way through the traffic to make up that extra stop there.
Yeah, although as we've seen already in the opening 25 lap, overtaking appears to be fairly easy here in Sepang, so I think they've definitely got a good chance. To me, the softer rubber is looking like the better tyre at the moment, which in these track temperatures, 33 degrees, we absolutely did not expect.
Well, absolutely. Michelin and Firestone doing a very commendable job to bring such strong rubber here today, but we have seen a number of overtakes, namely into the final corner, turn 1, as we go on board. This is a very good example, it could be, as both Westwoods, we've got a Holmquist, a Downton and a North Star.
And I do believe the leaders are coming up. They've just crossed the line, so the leaders are coming up to lap this gaggle, and there they are. That is Adrian Seaman, Olen Inman and Stuart Harrison line astern, and they have a good 6 cars to get through there.
Well, absolutely. Johan Halvorsen's got to be loving this. He's going to be closing right up on them at a rate of knots, as the Westwood tries his best to get out of the way, lets one of the DS cars through.
But blocks the other, and...
blocking the other one a little bit. Stuart Harrison could have a look, but not quite.
Oh, he tries up the inside, doesn't quite get the move. But I mean, we've seen back markers causing trouble, and that's Johan Halvorsen right with them.
Look how quickly he's closed up. This is the trouble that back markers can cause for those guys running at the front.
Yeah, so this could really change things around then, as Inman dives to the inside of the Westwood. I think that's of Will Hoskins. It is, and so Inman is through, and
He needed to get that move done as quickly as possible.
yeah, because look how far Simon has disappeared up the road.
Oh, there's contact!
Oh,
Harrison
that's
collects the Westwood.
and he's lost his front wing, Stuart Harrison. And that will be a trip to the pits then, and that is well before what is going to be his scheduled third stop of the race. So that's a disaster for Stuart Harrison. There's contact again.
Just tagging wheels again, saying thank you very much. As here we go on board again, just didn't quite give the Westwood enough room there.
No, and that is silly from Stuart Harrison.
Absolutely, you can't just expect a car to disappear on the inside of you, as we see, I think that's Jean Matson chasing down James Harding. That's Nikolai Milkovic, I apologise. That is Nikolai Milkovic and James Harding battling over 5th position.
Yeah, so where is that going to put Harrison now then? Where is he going to feed back out as Milkovic gets a much better run down pit straight on the super soft tyres and just blast past James Harding? But Harding's going to try and hold on around the outside of turn 1. But no, Milkovic has got the place.
Can't quite do it. That's the power of the softer rubber for you, as we wait to see where Stuart Harrison feeds out after that incident.
Yeah, and I think Hoskins has got away without any damage there. So, I mean, he was kind of the innocent party, so it's only fair, but...
Absolutely, but quite fortunate to be to not have any damage there, as we see Timo Kinnaman quite nicely getting out of the way of one of the DS cars. I would think that's Adrian Simon there.
Yeah, that's Simon still leading. But he was, I should imagine he was probably stuck behind Kinnaman for a while there, because Kinnaman has closed up the gap again, but Kinnaman's going to get stuck behind Kinnaman himself. Although he's not going to sweep round the outside.
Well, he tries it, but there's not very much grip there on the outside line, and that's allowed Johan Halvorsen to close up, and he could have a run.
No, Kinnaman just gets
He
out
could
of
have
the
a
way, I
run.
think,
Both
but-
cars getting past the Westwood at the same time. Could we see a dive up into the final corner? He's going for
Yeah,
it.
he's gone around the outside. Johan Halvorsen. Surely he's going to take second on the super soft tyres. He is. Halvorsen into second past Olen Inman then.
What a move there from the Dane as we reach the halfway point of this race.
Yeah.
And we've already had enough action.
And an absolutely excellent use of traffic as Stuart Harrison has come back out after the incident where he started this race in 8th place, but 48 seconds off the lead.
Goodness me, that is going to be a tall order to make up that ground. As we now see the DS cars passing, that's one of the Downtons there, Marcus Thunder. Oh, he's fighting for his position. He's not giving it up easy. Well, he might not want to, but I think he has to, because this is the DS Mathershaw car. It has one of the Meteors right behind him.
Contact.
I think that was a front wing end plate.
It was.
There was
Inman's
contact.
got past both of them.
What a move there! That's a fantastic bit of opportunistic driving there. And look how much he's pulling away already.
Yeah, so the monogas there just did 3 cars in one corner, and it's not normally a corner you even get overtakes.
That's a fantastic bit of driving as Simon finally gets past the Downton with a bit of missing front wing.
Oh, and there's
But that's
contact
contact,
again,
that's not
Halvorsen.
good. That's Johan Halvorsen, so both Meteors struggling with the back markers.
Yeah, and this could really affect their race here in Malaysia, as the 2 DS cars are now comfortably out into a 1-2, and Johan Halvorsen, all that work he's done to close the gap, he's going to have to go through it all over again.
Could very well be under pressure from Nikolai Milkovic, or am I being a bit ambitious there? Couldn't quite see the gap between them.
No, I didn't quite see the gap either, but I think is that Halvorsen into the pits?
I think it is Halvorsen into the pits, it definitely looks like it. It's one of the Meteors. So this could be a scheduled tyre stop, but more than likely he's picked up a bit of damage.
Well, I mean, I don't know, they've been going about 10 laps or so this would be... And he pitted on lap 19 last time out, so he's Yeah, I think he's fairly on point, actually.
Well, that would be fortunate for him if he has picked up any damage, as we watch one of the Lopez cars challenging an Ingram. I think this is for position.
And is Halverson going to get out ahead of them? He is. That was absolutely vital for the Dane.
That was critical for him if he'd been held up behind this battle, or even the battle behind one of the Holmquists challenging a Downton.
Oh, great.
You don't have to be so downbeat, just enjoy the race.
As Stuart Harrison sets the fastest lap. This is Carl Beckenbauer challenging Elroy Wagner.
Well, it looks like it. This is for 11th place, so just outside of the points, and just ahead of them is Puccio Giordano.
And I just want to take a look at the side. Johan Halverson has made 3 pit stops on the super soft tyres. Milkovic only 2, and the Ingram is still behind. So I don't think there's going to be much chance of Milkovic challenging Halverson there.
Well, not unless he has another accident, but here we go on board with Olen Inman, and this is another look at that spectacular overtake pulled off on both cars ahead of him.
And this is it on board with Inman again. Oh, and that's a collision!
Oh, that's contact with Novosinki!
So that's going to hand...
That was just a little bit clumsy on both parties.
Yeah, so that will hand Adrian Simon the lead back. And he is, but he's in the pits.
He's in the pits right now, so Olen Inman's in the pits as well, so that could very well hand the lead back to Johan Halverson.
Yeah, he wasn't that far behind. Well, actually, no, he was behind when he pitted, wasn't he? So in theory, Adrian Simon should come out still leading this race, but I don't think he has. I think Halverson is into lead, and I think Milkovic is into second.
Milkovic, it'll be interesting to see. We'll just wait for the timing screens to come up, but if Johan Halverson has put together an absolute stormer of a lap after his pit stop, there he has!
And Milkovic is
Johan
second.
Halverson leads, and Nikolai Milkovic is in second. What a race this is for Ingram. Second and fourth at the moment.
Yeah, let's not forget though, Milkovic will have to pit any lap now on those super soft tyres.
That's true, they'll be getting pretty ragged as we go back on board with Beckenbauer chasing down Elroy Wagner. And with Giordano ahead of him, do you think that he could be backing Wagner into Beckenbauer?
Well, I think it's certainly possible. Giordano's made 1 stop and he's running on the medium tyres, I believe. Beckenbauer on the softs. So it could definitely be team play here.
It could very well be, but Elroy Wagner, only having made 1 stop, he's on the harder compound. So you'd think that Beckenbauer might be able to get past in pretty short order.
He should, but I don't think the Ocelot has as much pace as the Franklin, to be honest, from the practice and qualifying sessions we've seen so far. So that could be where he's struggling, although the tyres he's on are 2 steps softer. So yeah, he really should be getting past Wagner.
Well, on the question of pace though, I think you might be accurate. That's true, he did race for the DS Mathershaw team back when it was Liverpool for a number of reasons, and then parted quite acrimoniously, we have to say. But he's been doing a very commendable job here in the Ocelot. Had a pretty poor start to his time at the team back in Australia when he had 2 pit stops in the space of the opening 6 laps.
Yeah.
He's doing a pretty good job here though.
I think
fighting with the Franklins on merit.
Yeah, I think Milkovic is pitted because Adrian Simon is back up to second.
Well, he has done, so Stuart Harrison up into 5th, and this is John Matson chasing down Olen Inman for the 3rd place.
And look how tight that is then. The top 7 cars are within half a minute of one another.
Well, that is a pretty close grid here.
This is much closer than we saw in Australia.
Well, absolutely. Much closer than we saw last year, you have to admit.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, when Franklin were pretty much just running away with it.
Well, absolutely. And I don't mean to say that it's good that Franklin has slipped back, but we do have to say that it's a very, very exciting season from the looks of things, with so many fights going on right throughout the grid.
I think it's good that Franklin slipped back. Nothing against Jamie at all, but it's interesting to see now how they recover. I think that's going to be a
absolutely. I mean,
throughout the season.
Well, definitely. It is going to be interesting to see if they can climb up towards the front end of the grid, or if they concentrate on next year. But just shaking things up every so often.
Yeah, let's just take, where are we? We're 30 laps into this race then. and we've only had one retirement, and that was, well, Douglas Bacon, who didn't even really make the start.
Well, absolutely. Just the one retirement so far, but we did see in Australia there was a fair few incidents, but the cars seem to keep going.
Yeah, apart from Einarson, who just tried to hit everything.
Apart from... I don't think you could really count Einarson in the same vein as the other guys. But we've got Giordano. This is Beckenbauer, sorry. This could be a run on Elroy Wagner.
Is this the move?
Who holds on around the outside. It could very well be, but look behind them. That's an Ingram and that's Joachim van Snelheid and Nikolai Milkovic. Look how much they've closed up.
Yeah, and look at this. 4 cars all fighting over the same piece of tarmac. And I think Van Snelheid's gone past a lot of them. He's just gonna... No, he's just gonna slot in behind Beckenbauer. But great bit of driving there by the Dutchman.
Very opportunistic there. Puccio Giordano presumably just made his pit stop. That's why he's disappeared from the fight. But now we've got Nikolai Milkovic going up against the reigning champion.
Is that Milkovic or Matson?
No, I think it's Milkovic.
It is Milkovic. So, oh yes, because of course he pitted, didn't he?
Made his pit stop, dropped down the order.
So, as we've got yellow flags appearing absolutely everywhere, but no one ever seems to be going off. So...
Well, just briefly in the middle sector. You definitely see the tyre marks where those incidents have taken place, though.
Yeah, as Milkovic now harassing Wagner, but now that Beckenbauer's got through, look, he's just vanished up the road.
Well, absolutely. That just shows how much the Franklin was holding them up.
Fire! Fire!
There's a fire up ahead!
And that's Joachim
It's Van Snelheid!
Oh,
so that Lopez engine has tried enough. He was having such a strong race as well, challenging for position and taking them.
Yeah.
As we see, this is presumably a scrap towards the back end.
Well, they've just passed. Well, I don't know actually. There's a maybe is that Judson Sykes being lapped? Because I think he was.
It could very well be. Oh, that's getting a bit too close for comfort there.
Yes, there's nearly contact there, but yeah, I think that is Sykes being lapped by Bayer and Giordano.
I think you'd be right about that, as we see one of the Ingrams. I think this is Milkovic going past Wagner into turn 1.
Yeah, so Milkovic up into 8th, I think.
I think it is 8th position. That's super soft against the hard.
Yeah, and I just to come back to Van Snelheid a minute. Let's not forget, he was on the hard tyre as well, and yet he was pulling away from Elroy Wagner, also on the hard tyre, at the same rate as Beckenbauer on the softs.
Well, absolutely. So Van Snelheid, you've got to commend him as well, but also what the Lopez team have been able to do over the season break from where they were in 2015. They have just taken an absolute meteoric rise to the top. It's Giordano, that's pretty clumsy there, challenging getting past the AMR.
Yeah, I think that's Felix Bayer. But Giordano lucky not to pick up any damage there, or damage the AMR at all, and this is just on board with Van Snelheid as his engine just decides it's had enough.
Gracefully coasts to a complete failure. As we go back, this is Giordano chasing down Felix Bayer again. So a couple of cars closing in behind them.
Yeah, so that's Felix Bayer leading. Puccio Giordano and Romano Agostino then, 3 of them battling over 12th place, and I'm sure there are probably a couple of back markers mixed in there as well somewhere.
I think there could very well be, but Carson Davenport around 20 seconds or so down the road on his teammate.
Yeah, and I just have to say, I've been really surprised by that. Davenport versus Agostino. Davenport is a former race winner, let's not forget, and I'd have expected him to very much have beaten of Agostino, but Agostino last year was, apart from the first race, which is the only one that Fun managed to pick up points in, Agostino more often than not had the beating of Davenport, and this year again he's continued that form through.
Well, absolutely, but it seems to be, they were relatively evenly matched last year, but there seems to be a much bigger gap between them this year. Perhaps one of them just likes the car a bit better than the other one.
Yeah, it's certainly a possibility as we go on board with, this is Puccio Giordano now chasing Felix Bayer, sorry. But what have we got up front?
Absolutely.
Johan Harrison leading by 10 seconds.
Well, that's you've got to say that's pretty strong pace coming from the Dane. But this battle here between the AMR and the Ocelot, as he streaks past the back marker, but this could hold up. This could cause trouble for Giordano here if he can't get past quickly. He could fall back into the clutches of the Fun.
Yeah, it looks as though the Hong Fist is trying to back off, just not really in the right places.
Well, absolutely, you can see them diving all over the track. There he goes, finally getting past them. And here's Romano Agostino.
Yeah, and oh, that's Einarsson. Oh god.
Oh, it is Einarsson. That's a bit clumsy of him, though. Well, we can only hope that the rest of them get past in pretty reasonably.
I think he's let one of the. I think he's let Judson Sykes through as well, accidentally there.
I think that is Judson Sykes as well. So getting himself off of the back of the field. So making some progress after his opening error. As this is Marcus Thunder, I think, chasing down. Is this? I think Novasinki, and this will be Kiara Thunder as well.
It is, yeah, Novasinki just completely ignores the inside of the corner and jumps well over the curb to move up past Kiara Thunder in the Hong Fist.
Absolutely, plenty of curb, but it seems to have worked. So we've now got Thunder versus Thunder, as we saw in Australia.
Oh god. That could cause problems around the dinner table.
You've done that joke before.
I'm going to keep making it.
Absolutely, it's as good a joke as any. As we see, one of the cars, that's somebody off.
It's Harrison.
Stuart Harrison's been off. He's fallen behind John Matson.
So, Harrison then, who'd already had problems losing his front wing against the back marker and having to make an early stop, has now, he'd recovered. He was closing in on third placed Olen Inman, but he's just thrown that away. And he's now slipped back to fifth behind John Matson.
So the Meteors, they definitely seem to have the pace, but they just seem to be a little bit twitchy from the looks of things, as we see Marcus now taking a move on Kiara up the inside of her in the final corner. This could be interesting. Has he got the move done?
We're going to cut away, but yeah, the two Thunders wheel to wheel then down the start-finish straight. It'll be interesting to see. I think Marcus has just got the position.
I think he could very well have done. Let's hope they kept it clean. But Kiara Thunder, fair play to her, not giving up without a fight.
No, absolutely not. But yeah, Marcus is through then, past his sister.
So the next target will be Alexei Novasinki in the North Star up ahead.
Yeah,
as we go on board with one of the Franklins there.
Yeah, just going back to Stuart Harrison. So that's the second Meteor that we've seen make a mistake at that corner.
What is it about that corner that they don't like?
Unless it's... I mean, I would say maybe it's tyres, but they've only been on these for 5 or
Stuart Harrison's down to 7th now.
Oh, so is that...
He's dropped behind Ruiz and James Harding.
He's pitted.
He's made another pit stop, that explains it.
I suppose his last one was fairly early, wasn't it? And he's probably damaged the tyres a bit with that error, so...
I would imagine he has done, but you've got to say this plays into the hands of Johan Halverson and the two DS cars up front, because without Stuart Harrison to challenge them, he's dropped right down the order.
Yeah, he has, although... I mean,
one less thing for them to worry about.
So there's what, 20 laps left, so Harrison should make it then on one more pit stop.
You should make it, but it'll be pretty cut and dry, as we've got one of the Meteors, I think this is Harrison, trying to get back past James Harding.
And he's just
hopefully the back markers can just quick this time. Well, there you go, there's the underlying pace of the Meteor again. But he's still got to get through traffic.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is that, I think that's Milkovic as well, or is that Matson next in? I think that's Matson next in the pits, just ahead. Just
ahead, but can he hold the position? He got slowed down a little bit by Marcus Thunder up ahead, going into turn 1, and I think the Meteor's taken the position.
Yeah, Harrison through then, and that is Harrison up into, what, 4th place again then, so...
It's 4th place.
He's lost no positions, but he is half a minute now behind the podium.
Well, absolutely, it's going to be a tall order to get that time back.
But look at that, we've got Harrison, Harding, Matson and Milkovic within 2 seconds of one another. 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th.
That is going to be a pretty good scrap. Let's hope the two Ingrams can keep it clean.
Yeah, well, we've got Milkovic on the super softs and Matson on the softs, so
Oh, there's one of them's gone round. He's lost it.
And
I think there was contact with one of the Downtons there as well.
Yeah, I think as he spun, left Marcus Thunder with just nowhere to go. I think that was John Matson spinning out of 5th place, I believe, then.
I don't know, I couldn't quite pick up which of the Ingrams it was, but we just watching the timing screens, we've got Halverson leading in front, we've got Simon and Olen Inman in 2nd and 3rd, and here we have, that is John Matson.
Yeah, and that was a very tight move there around the outside of the Holmquist car.
It was. I think we just saw 4 cars. There's 4 or 5 cars having a real scrap in the back of the field. We want to watch that. There we go.
Yeah, and this is so that's Carl Beckenbauer trying to lap Kiara Thunder, on Enrique Ruiz trying to lap Marcus Thunder, and there's just cars everywhere. They're certainly going for it throughout the field here in Malaysia.
They definitely are, but this is what we want to see in Formula Virtual as we go on board with John Matson.
Yeah, I just want to point out the gap between Johan Halverson and Olen Inman. It's just over 20 seconds. So if Halverson's still got a couple more laps in theory until his pit stop, he should be able to come out ahead of the monogasque driver here.
Well, he could very well do, but that all depends if the 2 DS cars have to make a pit stop. And speaking of, one of the AMRs appears to have peeled in.
Yeah, and which one's that then? I think that's Lewis Ellington into the pits. No,
it's Felix Bayer.
50-50 and I still got it wrong.
Well, you can't get them all right as we go on board with, well, this is one of the Franklins. I think this is, again, Wagner chasing down Giordano, or is it Beckenbauer?
Enrique Ruiz.
It is Enrique Ruiz, as I think we're going to see exactly what happened. Look at that, just too much curb.
And then, boom! just a little bump start there from Thunder to help him get going again.
Absolutely, a little bit of a love tap, but he let his teammate through, and that's going to have dropped him a little bit down the grid. Or down the order, rather, as we go on board with Ruiz momentarily.
Yeah, just trying to... Oh, was very sideways there, Ruiz, and you can see the tyre marks from both Meteors that have gone off at that corner.
Well, absolutely, but how old... I'm just wondering how old are Ruiz's tyres, because they could be getting on a little bit.
Yeah, I don't... Oh, this is... Halverson's pitted and come out just behind Olen Inman then, so he didn't quite have enough. Or at least I hope he's pitted. Yeah, he has pitted.
He has pitted, yes, he's come out just behind Olen Inman, but on fresher rubber and softer rubber as well, you should expect him to get past pretty quickly.
Yeah, so let's just take a rundown then. Simon is leading, having made 2 stops on the medium tyres, ahead of Inman, who's done the same. Halverson is 3rd on the super softs, he's made 4 stops. Likewise Harrison in 4th. James Harding 5th on the mediums, has made 2 stops. Milkovic has made 3 stops on the super softs, Matson 3 stops on the softs, and Ruiz 3 stops as well on the soft tyres, same as Beckenbauer in 9th, and Giordano 10th on the mediums has made 2 pit stops. So I'd imagine we'll see Milkovic in any lap now then for his 4th stop.
We could very well do, but here we go, we've got, this is Johan Halverson, trying to get past Olen Inman here.
Yeah, so... Looking at that then, I'd say with 16 laps to run, the top 3 all have 1 more pit stop to make, so this is basically now net position.
Well, absolutely, but we see Johan Halverson moving out to make a move into turn 1.
Yeah, and that is Halverson going through into 2nd place then, past Olen Inman. The monogasque driver loses 2nd, and Johan Halverson on the softer rubber is up and now will set off after race leader Adrian Simon.
He needed to make that move as quickly as he could. He didn't want the tyres getting shredded in the dirty air of that DS car, and now he can really go chasing down.
Absolutely, and with 16 laps left, both of them still to make a pit stop, Johan Halverson has just 4 seconds to make up in 16 laps.
Here we go, Nikolai Milkovic on James Harding, and this could be another move into turn 1. We've seen plenty of overtakes happen here over the course of the race so far.
Yeah, and Milkovic through into 5th then.
So the Ingram's having a really strong showing here. And we've got John Matson right behind him. We could see another one.
Yeah, I think Ingram are definitely being aided by the softer rubber here, which, as we've mentioned before, has against what a lot of us expected, has turned out to be the better tyre compound here in Malaysia.
Well, absolutely. With the warmer track temperatures than we saw in Australia, we definitely thought that the softer rubber would be getting shredded. But from the looks of things, it's held together reasonably well.
Yeah, as Nathaniel Powers pits from somewhere at the back.
22nd, it looks like.
Yeah, as Johan Halvorsen on the fresh super soft tyres sets the fastest lap then, as he sets off after.
Well, as he needs
Adrian
to hunt down Adrian Simon.
Yeah.
He's really closed up that gap, though.
The gap was 4 seconds. It's now 1.5. I don't think Simon's going to be holding that lead much longer.
Well, I would have to agree with you there.
As we see,
I think this is Powers having made his pit stop. That's Judson Sykes.
Yeah.
And
Sykes just letting through.
I think this is back markers.
Harrison, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that is Harrison. And one of the AMRs as well. Is that Bear?
Possibly. I was just looking. Sorry, I was just checking the timing screens. As Milkovic pits for his 4th pit stop then on the super soft tyres.
Okay, and the Johan Halvorsen and Adrian Simon getting tied up in this back marker scrap, so this won't be helping the Mathershaw car.
No, but Simon has passed one of them. Halvorsen hasn't got any of them yet, and I think you're right. I think that is Felix Bear with the orange and black helmet. As that was Bear very over the curbs there.
Chiara Thunder and Elroy Wagner are both into the pits. Elroy Wagner's retired.
Oh yeah, I wondered why Elroy Wagner was down in 20th. It didn't look right.
Well, I did wonder, but Elroy Wagner retiring the car, so what could that be for?
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see if there's a replay. As Halvorsen closes up hugely into the final corner, and I was a bit worried there that he wasn't quite going to stop in time.
Well, that's very good brakes on the Meteor car, but here comes the drive now, down into turn 1, and this has been his favourite spot over the Grand Prix. Could we be able to see... I think this is going to be Johan Halvorsen taking the lead.
Yeah, I think you're right. And Halvorsen fairly comfortably then into the lead of this race. And, well, Halvorsen absolutely will have to pit at least once more. But I think the 2 DS cars will behind him. So I think that is Johan Halvorsen into a net lead of this race now then. But we'll see. Maybe those DS's, now that we're later in the race with less fuel, can make the tyres eke out to the end, and in which case Halvorsen will need to build a 20+ second lead if he wants to win this race.
Well, he definitely does, but you can see already how far he's pulled ahead of Adrian Simon just in that short time we've had since he's passed him.
As we see, oh, that's Matson just getting into the back of James Harding. And the first
a little bit clumsy as the first as the first car tries to get out of the way. He manages to get out of the Lopez car, but blocking that Ingram a little bit, but he manages to slink his way past up the inside.
Oh, and this is on board with Wagner then, and just listening.
That is not a healthy sounding car.
No, I think he's stuck in gear, so I think that's a gearbox failure that has ended Elroy Wagner's race here in Malaysia.
It was such a shame, because he was challenging for points, albeit not all that many, but we go back on board. This is, why do I keep saying on board? This is one of the Ingrams chasing down a Lopez. I think this is, well, they've gotten past the first car, so this will be Matson on Harding.
Yep. So, what have we got? So, Halvorsen is leading now on the Super Softs then. 3 seconds clear of Simon, and 6.5 clear of Olen Inman. And Harrison isn't really making any progress.
He's still... Is that 32 seconds down? Am I reading that right?
Yeah. I mean, obviously he has had a lot of incidents, hasn't he? And I think he was about 30 seconds back, but he hasn't really gained any time on his teammate or the 2 DS cars.
Well, that's true. Maybe he did pick up a little bit of damage to the car, and that's just compromising his speed.
Yeah, certainly possible. As we go back to the battle between Matson and James Harding, and I think this is over 5th place then.
It is 5th place, so this will be a very strong result for the Ingram team if they can claim this position.
But Ingram on the softs against Harding on the mediums. He just thinks better of a dive into turn 1. He's just gonna bide his time.
Absolutely. I mean, 6th would be a reasonable result for them for the time being, so he doesn't want to do anything reckless. But definitely closing up under braking.
Yeah, and I I should imagine Matsson's probably going to have to pit once more as well, to be honest.
I think you would be right about that, but he definitely seems to be having some reasonable pace in the tyres at the moment, so it'll be interesting to see how far longer he can keep them going.
I just want to put... Johan Halvorsen now has a 5-second lead, so if we suggest that his final pit stop will be around lap 50, I think Halvorsen's looking pretty good here.
Well, absolutely. I mean, even if he does pull out 1.5 seconds a lap, that'll still drop him behind both DS cars, I think. As we see, I think this is him fighting through some of the back markers.
Yeah, it is. That's Halvorsen lapping Agostino and now lapping Carson Davenport. So the two fun cars have switched position then, as they're now going to go side by side, and Agostino sweeps around the outside of his teammate at turn 4. What a
very nice opportunistic move there. I mean, we've seen the Fun F1 guys scrapping quite a lot over the last couple of years, and it doesn't seem like there's any love lost between them.
No, and is it me, or does this seem like a rather slowed Carson Davenport?
Well, it does seem rather slow, you're right about that, compared to, well, seeing how far his teammate's running. Although he is on a slightly harder compound of tyre.
Yeah, it could be. Just maybe we'll have to keep an eye on that then. Maybe there are some gremlins creeping in with into that fun car of Carson Davenport.
Well, it could very well be, but here we have... There's the DS Mathershaw cars.
Yeah, tucked up.
And that's Nathaniel Powers ahead of them.
So, you'd imagine they'll be on the pit wall. Because these, let's not forget, these two teams share an engine. The engine primarily built by Downton, but tuned for both teams by the DS automobile manufacturer. And that's the AMR unlapping himself from both of them.
Goodness me, so the Downton really getting in the way of there then.
Yeah, and they won't be liking that. And that's into the pits.
Oh, that's...
Both of them.
Are they both into the pits? Both DS cars are into the pits, so this has got to mean that Johan Halvorsen is going to maintain the lead when he makes his next stop.
Yeah, surely. And, I mean, that is... Unless he makes a mistake, surely that has handed the race victory to Johan Halvorsen.
Well, my one... what I'm thinking is, what's this going to do for Harrison? I mean, he is quite a ways back.
Sorry to cut across you, but in the pits, it was quicker pit work from Inman's crew, and he's got out ahead of his teammate.
So that's a jump in the pit stops. We don't see that very often, but there is Stuart Harrison for what's presumably his final stop. Although it's going to be a pretty close call to see if he can get to the end of the race, because there's 11 laps to go.
Yeah, and I think the furthest we've seen a set of super softs go at the moment has been 10 laps.
So it's going to be a challenge for him. Let's see if he's up to it. Coming out behind Enrique Ruiz, who's currently running 5th.
Yeah, so a solid effort from Ruiz then. But he
absolutely making gains. Absolutely, you're right. Fighting his way back from that that contentious grid penalty.
And he's only a second behind John Matson, and they're both. Oh, that's a DS off the track.
Oh, one of the DS cars. Olen Inman running wide, and that's given Adrian Simon back the place.
Oh, so all of that brilliant work that his crew did in the stops, Olen Inman is just thrown away.
Just didn't quite have the grip he thought he had on cold tyres from the looks of things.
Yeah, as we see, that's Ruiz and Harrison.
This is Stuart Harrison challenging. Absolutely, getting past one of the back markers.
But Harrison is through.
Just driving around the outside.
Yeah, but
and those soft tyres as well.
Yeah, Harrison on the super softs though, and I think Ruiz on now rather worn soft tyres, so that probably played a part there.
It could very well have done. I imagine we'll see him pitting in the next few laps or so, but here's Olen Inman. This is what happened. And a carbon copy of what happened to Milkovic.
Yeah.
Oh, did he make contact with the wall there?
I don't think he did. I think he was just enough away from the wall, but that DS will have had their heart in their mouths after what happened to Simon in Australia.
Absolutely, that was incredibly fortunate for him to keep running. But meanwhile, out in front, we've got Johan Halvorsen, and I don't really think there's anyone who can challenge him unless something goes drastically wrong.
Well, yeah, I think you're right. He's 37, so he's nearly got 2 pit stops in hand. So,
Well, that just shows you what a tremendous race he's had.
yeah, I mean, Olen Inman could, not Olen Inman, Johan Halvorsen could stop and have a cup of tea if he fancied it.
Well, absolutely. As we see another car heading into the pits at the time being, I'm not entirely sure who that is.
Giordano.
You're right about that. It is Giordano. So that would release whoever was behind him. Here's Enrique Ruiz.
Yeah, so I think Ruiz now back in 6th, isn't he? Having been passed by Stuart Harrison. And it's been a solid race from Ruiz. I'm really impressed by the Brazilian.
Well, absolutely. He's driven quite commendably, as there's one of the fun F1 cars into the pits as well. But considering it didn't all go to plan for him in Australia, he had the accident at turn 1 with the back markers, and that then led to the incident with Adrian Simon, which gave him the 5-place grid penalty. But he's fought back from that. He's fought back from that very very well.
Yeah, so I mean, let's say he started 11th. He qualified 6th and started 11th. I wonder, as Stuart Harrison sets the fastest lap. So we've got Matson running in 4th then. So Matson presumably yet to pit, and
Well, I can only assume he is still yet to make his last pit stop of the race, running as he is on the softer tyres. So we could see him coming in around about the same time as Enrique Ruiz.
Yeah, so that could be a good battle between them then for 5th place, because you'd imagine Milkovic in 7th will have to stop again on the super softs.
Well, absolutely, and Stuart Harrison, perhaps, we've said this before, but he's running, there he is in 5th place, really chasing down Jean Matson quite at a rate of knots here.
Yeah, on, well, fresh super softs compared to worn soft tyres, but you'd imagine Harrison would be wanting to go slightly carefully on them, because they will not be wanting to make a pit stop like Harding had to do in Australia with a lap to go.
Look, they most certainly will not, even if he could challenge for a podium position, waiting for, well, the DS cars have already made their stops, but with the pace he's got, he could conceivably challenge for a podium.
I think it's going to be a tall order for him, but, I mean, it's a quick car.
Well, he gets a real slide out of that last corner.
Yeah, he needs to stop doing that.
Absolutely, but I think this is Jean Matson coming up to one of the back markers. That's Judson Sykes, either side of him.
And I think Harrison is going to use Judson Sykes there to get through past Jean Matson, and he is up into 4th place.
He absolutely has done. Very nice move there from the American.
That's the 2nd time we've seen that this season, using a back marker to make an overtake.
It is. It's a great piece of tactical driving, using both sides of him.
Yeah. So we've got Stuart Harrison. Well, what is he? He's 8 seconds behind Inman, and we have 8 laps to go. Never say never.
So if he can close down on him at the rate of a second a lap, he could be all over the back of him come the final stretch.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tricky for Harrison, because he does have to look after those tyres as well if he doesn't want to pit.
Well, absolutely. This is all assuming that he doesn't have to make another stop. But from the rate of... He's been going through tyres at pretty quick rate.
Yeah, as we see Nowosinki into the pits for North Star from 17th position. And in as well comes Halvorsen then, race leader. Although, he should comfortably, even if they mess up this stop, he should comfortably come back out in the lead.
He should certainly. He's got more than enough of a cushion to the DS cars behind him, who've both made a 2nd stop on the medium tyres.
So let's just make sure the pit stop is nice. He hits his marks. And we're going to cut away.
We're going to cut away momentarily. Was that a DS car? It is a DS car.
Is, yeah, that's Adrian Simon. So Johan Halvorsen, is he going to come back out in the lead? No, he's not.
So Adrian Simon has taken the lead of the V-Prix.
Yeah, with 7 laps to go here. So how?
Although there is a back marker in front. I have absolutely no idea, but this back marker is not going to be helping his chances any. He'll need to get through this as quickly as he can.
There must have been a mistake somewhere from Johan Halvorsen, because you cannot have a 37-second lead, pit and come out behind. The pit lane is not that long.
Well, absolutely. It either have been a mistake on the track or a mistake by the pit crew. But for whatever reason, Johan Halvorsen now losing the lead with only 7 laps to go.
Yeah, oh, was the...
Oh, fun F1 car.
Yeah, I think that's Davenport in front
Big
of him
slide.
sideways. You need to get out
Well,
of the
absolutely,
way,
but gets out of the way very nicely. So that's Johan Halvorsen through, and he'll set about chasing down the Frenchman. What? What is he doing?
God knows. But Halvorsen is through and without damage. So, we now have 7 laps. Adrian Simon leads on fairly fresh medium tyres. Johan Halvorsen chasing him down behind on fresh super softs. This is going to be good.
This is going to be a very good last 7 laps of the race. As we see, I think that is Adrian Simon there coming up to. I think this is Powers.
Yeah. So we've got Simon leading, having made 3 stops. He's 2.5 seconds ahead of Johan Halvorsen. Olen Inman 6.5.
Got to imagine that'll be coming down pretty quickly.
Oh god, yeah, the gap's 0.3. I think Halvorsen's going to go through in any second now. He's not quite going to make the dive into turn 1, but
well, absolutely. The back markers have not helped Adrian Simon at all. Johan Halvorsen all over the back of him, and you can imagine it's only going to be a matter of time before the Meteor car finds a way past.
I don't think it was just back markers. I think a lot of it is down to the tyres as well, though.
I think you may be right about that. The super soft rubber, I should say, definitely seems to have more grip than the medium, as that's Adrian Simon gets a little bit sideways out of the corner. That could compromise his drive.
Yeah, I don't know if we've just seen Milkovic make his 5th. Oh, we have, yeah. I was going to say, he just slipped behind James Harding there. And, yeah, Milkovic into the pits for his 5th and final stop of this race. Carl Beckenbauer running 7th on the soft tyres. He's going to have to pit again. He's only made 3 stops so far.
Well, presumably, but on Ricky Ruiz, is he pitted again?
Yeah, I think Ruiz has made his 4th and what we presume to be the final stop.
This is the battle we're all watching now, though. Johan Halvorsen trying to get past Adrian Simon in the closing stages.
Yeah, and he's got... there's a fairly equal exit there from that, but Johan Halvorsen does have much softer rubber. Is he going to try around the outside of the phone? No, he's just going to stick with Adrian Simon. He's going to try his favourite move, surely. Slipstream down the start finish straight and into turn 1.
Well, absolutely, that's where I'd be going for it, and he is going for it.
He's gone to the inside. Johan Halvorsen down the inside of Adrian Simon at turn 1 for the lead of the race. Simon is going to try and hang on around the outside. Can he hold it? No, he can't. Johan Halvorsen goes into the lead with 5 laps to go here in Malaysia.
Well, there's the advantage of the softer rubber for you, and that has got to be heart-crushing stuff for the DS team. It all looked like they were going to take the victory there if Simon could have held Halvorsen behind him. But not to be from the looks of things.
No, I think that was always going to be a tough ask for Adrian Simon on the mediums. But Halvorsen now then, he's just got to keep it on track and, well, yeah, keep it on track really.
Keep it on track. He's already had a couple of incidents this race.
Yeah, as we go on board with Olen Inman, who seems to be all on his own at the moment in a steady 3rd place.
Well, relatively quiet, but you can't deny his talent. I mean, if you take a look at the advantage that he had in qualifying and in practice as well, he's definitely got the pace to be running for a top team.
Absolutely, wow, he is in the top team.
Yeah, he is in the top team. DS Mathershaw, arguably the fastest car on the grid. I think he just needs to get that experience in and apply his racecraft a little bit, and he will be champion one day.
Yeah, as Johan Halvorsen puts a lap on the front, passing Davenport. I just wonder...
That's Harrison, I think.
Oh, could have been. I just wondered, we saw Olen Inman when he came out of the pits. He made that mistake and lost the position to Simon. If there had been 2 DS cars up the front, I just wonder if they may have been able to hold off Halvorsen together.
Well, they might well have been able to. They could perhaps have played the team orders, one DS Mathershaw car trying to back Halvorsen away, whilst the other one ran off into the lead.
Yeah.
As we see one of the Fun F1 cars exiting the pits just behind. I think that's Adrian Simon.
Yeah, I think you might be right. As we see one of the battles towards the back, and it's the 2 Thunders again, Chiara and Marcus, battling over I think that's actually 17th position. So, solid
So a
effort
pretty
there.
strong result from the pair of them.
So is that Kiara Thunder leading the battle of the new teams then, or is Hutchinson still ahead of them?
I do think Hutchinson's still ahead of them. I think he was in 16th last I checked.
Oh, we'll have a look when he comes back
But
round.
here's Halverson trying to get past an AMR. That won't be helping.
No, he's got a 2.3 second gap now back to Adrian Simon. So
You've got to imagine that's
it's not a
enough.
mistake, but look at the rate. I just want to say, look at the rate that Harrison has caught up. He's only 2 seconds now behind Olen Inman with 4 laps to go.
Well, absolutely, but does he have to pit again? That's the question we need to ask.
Question, yeah. As Halverson finally puts a lap on the AMR of Felix Bayer.
Here's the two Ocelots scrapping, Giordano leading Beckenbauer for the time being. This is 10th place, the last points paying position.
Yeah, so a lot of pride at stake here then between the two Ocelot drivers.
Well, absolutely, and you can assume position in the driver's standings, as Beckenbauer gets a little bit squirrely out of that corner, but he appears to have a run at Giordano.
Yeah, it doesn't quite make anything of it though, and you were right, Hutchinson is leading the battle of the new teams, but he's not in 16th, he's actually 15th now.
So he's improving on his position from Australia. This is incredibly strong stuff from Olen Hutchinson, I have to say.
Yeah. He's certainly going to be, I think, first secret weapon here this season.
Absolutely, I think first trump card as well. As we continue to watch the Ocelot battle, do you think the team principals are going to be on the radio saying, okay guys, just don't do anything stupid and bring the cars home?
Considering they're looking at points, yeah, I think that's definitely a good shout. But,
Absolutely, and it's not out of the question that something could happen ahead, and they could be on for a double points finish.
No, absolutely. Let's just see who is ahead of them. It's we've got the only car ahead of them is Lewis Ellington, 10 seconds down the road. But Beckenbauer's closing now onto the back of Giordano. Is he going to dive down the inside? Nope. Think about Robert.
Not from the looks of things, but there is traffic up ahead, so he could pounce then.
Yeah, who's that with? I think that's Kiara Thunder they have to lap. And oh no, that's Kiara.
Oh, that's
Thunder.
smoke from her engine.
Yeah, and that is an engine.
Is that a retirement?
I think it is. Yeah, I think that's Kiara Thunder out of the race. Then as her Renault engine cries enough here in the heat of Malaysia. And
Such a shame. She was putting in a real strong performance there.
yeah, running in 18th place, second out of all of the new teams. So it was a sterling effort from Kiara Thunder.
Well, absolutely. I think she's going to be really leading the charge with Holmquist going forward,
It would seem so.
as the two Ocelots continue to scrap.
Yeah, let's not forget she was the FP2 champion last year. So
Absolutely, ran away with that championship.
yeah, she really did. And Einarson was, you can test me now, 4th I think in the series last year.
I think you're right about that.
It was 4th or 5th. He was around there.
Absolutely, we've got 5 guys making the jump up from FV2. We've got Kiara Thunder, we've got Aaron Einarson, Olen Inman, who's really been proving his worth here. We've got
Harrison through into 3rd. Sorry, I've just seen it on the timing screens, and that's Olen Inman.
Olen Inman's gone off. That'll be why. Was there contact between the pair of them?
I don't know. We're going to have to wait for a replay then. But that is Stuart Harrison. After all his troubles today, back onto the podium. There are only 3 laps to go, but will he have to pit again?
It's going to be a real tall order to get those tyres to stretch to the end of the race, but if he can do it, this is going to be a fairy tale ending for the race for him.
Especially after such a difficult weekend. As now Carl
Well,
Beckenbauer's going to make the move
Beckenbauer.
on Giordano.
Down the outside under braking into turn 1, and he's got the move done. So now he goes chasing down, well, I think it's just trying to get past back markers from now.
Yeah, they've got Lewis Ellington 10 seconds up the road. They go on board with Kiara Thunder for a replay of her engine just deciding it doesn't want to function anymore.
Just expiring, and Kiara Thunder joining the list of retirees from this race, which includes Douglas
this is
Bacon.
Harrison in the
Didn't
pits.
start, unfortunately. It is Harrison. so he couldn't make those tyres last.
No, so very much like James Harding in Australia then, Harrison just can't quite eke it to the end, and a final pit stop has robbed him of a podium place here in Malaysia. Although he's come out, he's only 7 seconds behind him, although that's quite a tall order in 2 laps.
Well, it is quite a tall order, and there's still quite a cushion to James Harding back in 5th, so 4th place is still a very good result for him.
Yeah, and Harding's only got Milkovic a couple of seconds behind him on much softer tyres, so although they will be quite worn now, those super softs on Milkovic's Ingram, so there might not be a battle there. But the gap
But even so, that could be a scrap worth watching.
Yeah, and as well, Beckenbauer's just taken 3 seconds out of Lewis Ellington, so that could be something worth keeping an eye on as well.
That could very well be, but there is only 2 laps to go.
Yeah, and they are lapped, so...
Well, that is true. So if there is any of the leading cars coming up behind, they'll have to get out of the way. That'll compromise their own battle there.
Yeah, and
this is
Harding and Milkovic.
Oh, this is Harding and Milkovic coming up behind Nathaniel Powers. This is the trouble with traffic we were talking about.
Harding's through, and I think Powers is just going to block Milkovic a bit there, and that could cost Milkovic. Actually, I think that will cost Milkovic.
I think it has done. I think that has cost Milkovic 5th place as we head on to the final lap now.
Is he gonna? No, still can't get by. Yeah, Johan Halvorsen starts the final lap of this V-Prix then. He has a 9-second gap back to Adrian Simon, so as long as he keeps it on track, he's gonna take his 2nd win from 2 races.
Well, you've got to say this is a dream start to the season for not only Johan Halvorsen, but for the Meteor team as well. I mean, with Stuart Harrison, they've got a fantastic second driver, and they could really be taking the challenge to DS Mathershaw this year.
Yeah, and let's not forget, this is going to come as well. DS, we know they've clearly got the quickest car, and so for Meteor to have, fingers crossed, I don't want to put the commentator's curse on them, or Johan Halvorsen, but for Meteor to have won the first 2 races, wow. That's going to be tough to take for DS.
Well, you have to say that is going to be a pretty tough pill to swallow. They've got the pace, but they just don't have the strategy, and Meteor have been right there to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, as he now just struggling with, is that Giordano, I think?
I think it is Giordano, but just taking his time, getting past him, not wanting to do anything daft.
No, and through he goes then, and I think he's going to have now a fairly clear run to the line. As Johan Halvorsen rounds the final corner here in Malaysia. He was a surprise victor in Australia, and from 3rd on the grid, he's done it again in Malaysia. Johan Halvorsen wins for Meteor. 2nd place is going to be surely Adrian Simon, some way behind. Simon takes 2nd for DS on the medium tyres, his first finish of the year, and in 3rd place is Olen Inman going to be able to hang on from Stuart Harrison. The gap between them is quite considerable actually. So Inman will take 3rd then for the 2nd race in a row. He rounds the final corner now, exits, and the Monegasque on the podium once again. So you know, fairly impressive. And there is, yeah, Stuart Harrison couldn't quite catch him. He's in 4th. James Harding is just going to hold on from Nikolai Milkovic to take 5th, with the Russian in 6th. Then a great result for Ingram, and I think 7th is going to be Ruiz. But Johan Halvorsen, once again, a mighty impressive drive.
Absolutely, you cannot say that Australia was a fluke anymore. The pace from Meteor is real, and the scrap at the front this season, I think, is only going to get better from here.
Absolutely, it was a mighty impressive drive from Johan Halvorsen. I think the strategy, when it was announced he was on the super soft tyres this morning, I think we all feared the worst for Johan Halvorsen, but somehow they've got them working, and it is absolutely played beautifully into his hands. So there we've got at the side, Johan Halvorsen made 5 pit stops on the super softs, Simon 3 on the mediums, Inman 3 on the mediums, and Harrison just with that extra stop, just missing out on the podium. James Harding 5th, Milkovic 6th, Ruiz 7th, Matson 8th, and both Ocelots did finish in the points at the end as they passed Lewis Ellington.
Well, just what I was saying about both Ocelots, but Johan Halvorsen, you cannot take this away from him.
No, an incredible drive, 2 wins from 2, and he has a fairly comfortable championship lead now after just 2 races in 2016. So Johan Halvorsen picks up his second win from 2 races in 2016, with Adrian Simon taking his first points of the year and podium, and Olen Inman third for the second race in a row. Stuart Harrison picks up more points for Meteor in 4th place. But Elroy Wagner, the highest profile retirement today, the reigning world champion, out of this race with a gearbox failure, along with Jochen van Snelheid, Chiara Thunder and Douglas Bacon. In the Drivers' Championship, the top 4 remain the same, but Adrian Simon, the biggest mover, up 19 spots to 5th place with his first finish of the year. Jochen van Snelheid dropped a few. Nikolai Milkovic also a big gainer. Carson Davenport likewise has jumped up 4 spots to 16th, and Noah Sinke up 4 to 21st. Aaron Einarsson rooted to the bottom. And in the Constructors' Championship, Meteor now have 80 points, 32 clear of DS, who are their newest, closest competitors. But that's all from our race here today in Sepang. So from both me and Nick, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time for round 3 from Shanghai, China.